examples of quite frequently. See if you can spot it. I was surprised by the amount of people in that room. Now, if you didn't hear an error there, or if you heard one but you're not quite sure why it's an error, then I have an answer for you. What we need to understand, what the problem with the sentence, I was surprised by the amount of people in the room, is we need to have the idea of count nouns and mass nouns. These are two different kinds of nouns. We can see the difference with an example really fast. Supposing you come home or you go to a stranger's house and you open the refrigerator and you see that it's totally filled with these. From top to bottom, it's filled with these. What you wouldn't say is this: wow, that's a lot of butters. You would say, that's a lot of butter. Similarly, to give the other example, if you reeled back from the refrigerator and you wanted to, I don't know, calm yourself, and so you're looking around for some other object to relate to, and you see a desk, and you open the desk drawer, and you see hundreds of these things, you would not say, wow, that's a lot of pencil. You would say, that's a lot of pencils. And that's because butter is what we call a mass noun. If we see a lot of these things, we don't say, wow, that's a lot of butters. We say, that's a lot of butter. The noun just refers to the whole group of the things as a mass, and we're not interested in any particular one of them. Whereas this thing here, this pencil, we do count them. We talk about 6 pencils and 7 pencils or 2 pencils, but we don't talk about 6 butters or 7 butters or 2 butters. We can, of course, talk about sticks of butter, because stick, like pencil, it actually is a kind of stick, a stick is a count noun. Okay, so what is a count noun? A count noun is a noun that you can count, that you can make plural of. That you can make plural. So you can put a number in front of it. You can talk about 5 pencils, or 5 cars, or 5 people, or 5 children. You can just pick the number 5. But you can't do that with things like butter, or just to give some other examples of mass nouns. Often cooking things are in masses, like flour and rice, but also rain or snow or applause or guilt or lighting. We don't talk about how many applauses an actor received, for example. We just say he received applause. Now, this brings us back to our error. I was surprised by the large amount of people in the room. And you can't say that, because there are some usage things, some usage questions that come up in the way we distinguish mass nouns and count nouns. So we don't say, for example, amount of pencils. We don't treat pencils as mass nouns. Amount is a word that you use with mass nouns. You talk about an amount of butter or flour or applause or guilt or lighting, but you talk about a number of pencils or people or cars or cows. Similarly, you don't talk about having less pencils than another person. You talk about having fewer pencils than another person. So fewer is used with count nouns, and less is used with mass nouns. So for example, we talk about having less butter, or an actor receiving less applause than another actor, or something like that. Now, the fewer and less distinction seems to be under attack by certain unnamed major retailers who set up express lanes that say, these lanes are for people with less than 10 items. That's not right. It's fewer than 10 items. So if you see somebody, a retailer who is not violating this, this rule of usage, then I hope you will shop at that retailer and not at retailers who abuse the language in such a way. Now, there are a few tiny little exceptions to this. Well, there are exceptions to this seemingly. That is, you can talk about having, say, 5 butters. If by that you mean, say, lime butter, pepper butter, chili butter, well, I'm going to stop there. 3 butters, 3 different kinds of butter, or you know, I suppose there are butters made from kinds of non-cow products. So you might have goat butter. Now I'm getting out of my area of expertise. But anyway, you can have multiple butters, but it would have to mean different kinds of butters. The other exception I could think of would be if you were in a diner or something, and you might say to your waiter, we need some more butters here, meaning these things, which I guess technically you would call pats of butter, and a pat is a count noun, but that you might say that is butters. Similarly, another little exception would be you talk about something costing less than $10. Now, dollars, that has an S, that's a plural, and you might say, well, that's a count noun, so shouldn't it be fewer than $10? But in things like price, you're not interested in the individual dollar bills, those $10. You're not interested in that. You're interested in the whole mass, the general price. So it is correct to say less than $10. But that's the difference between mass nouns and count nouns.